What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Geordie and welcome back to F1 23 My Team career mode for the Qatar Grand Prix. And if you missed last episode, we finally got back to winning ways. I say finally, it's only been a couple of Grand Prix after our struggles at Monza and of course Singapore, which we actually did quite well at, all things considered, if you go back and watch those episodes. But of course the Japanese Grand Prix was a pretty good strategy from us and we were able to come out on top once more and continue what has been a pretty dominating season, all things considered. Of course, as you know, our goal is to basically beat the record points tally that Max Verstappen got in Season 1, which was 386. And currently we're on pretty good progress to do that. We have 7 Grand Prix to go, and of course F1 24 comes out at the beginning at the end of the month, of course, and I have early access with it. So, 28th, I think that will be. So, we've got about 20 days, 19 days to finish this off. So, a couple of announcements here. Of course, the Japanese Grand Prix episode has come out on the Wednesday. I'm going to try and get this Qatar GP episode out for the Friday, and then the Texas GP episode out for the Sunday. And to speed things along, Mexico, Brazil, and Portimao, we will be doing those episodes live. So, if you're interested in that, keep your notifications on, subscribe if you're new, and of course, I'll obviously be responding to the live chat as we play the game. Basically, it will be right back to our, Season 3 and Season 4 way of doing things, just to sort of speed things up for this final season. And then, of course, Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi, we will be doing those episodes like this, pretty much. So, we will be speeding things up after this week, and then I'm really excited for F1 24. And don't worry, I do have some content still planned for F1 23 on the lead up to F1 24 after this series finishes. We have one more live stream that I 100% want to do, probably the day before F1 24 comes out, sort of like a goodbye to F1 23. You know, this game has brought a lot of happiness to my life, 400 hours plus. So I don't want to get too into that, as this isn't the time for it. That will be more for the last episode, the final episode. So here we are. And the only story that I really want to care about is George Russell. Of course, in the first half of the season, he was amazing, just as good as I was. And that pretty much won us the Constructors' Championship, if you look at the standings here. But of course, Russell has dropped the ball in this second half of the season, barring, a pretty good 5th place in Austria, 4th place in Monza, and of course the 3rd spot in Silverstone. But other than that, pointless finishes in Canada, Zandvoort, and Japan. I don't understand what happened there. We were clearly one of the better cars at Suzuka. It might have been all down to setup, maybe strategy, but Russell has completely dropped the ball, and I will be hoping that he is able to pick it back up again in the Qatar GP. Of course, we'll be trying to, up his focus, as we see right here with the second driver performance review and the race simulations, as well as team building that we're going to be putting the team through, of course. If we have a look at contracts, Russell's focus is at 99, so I really don't understand why he is underperforming so badly currently. But pretty long-winded intro right there, but now it is finally time to get into the Qatar GP. Actually, before we actually do this, we should probably look at our history at this GP. So, our very first Qatar GP was actually pretty good, a P5. And considering we were one of the worst cars on the grid for that season, P5, pretty damn good. if I should say so myself. Our second Qatar GP was Season 2, one of the more legendary episodes of the series, of course, where Lewis Hamilton, a collision with Lewis Hamilton, sent us crashing out of the Grand Prix. We didn't do Qatar in Season 3, and we didn't do it in Season 4 neither, so yeah, it's the return of the Qatar Grand Prix, and I think I actually removed it because this particular Grand Prix had an issue where in qualifying and in the race itself, mind you, the ERS would run out so quick because you're kind of at full speed almost the whole lap. You know, it was definitely hard to pin a setup down, but I am determined to finally get a win in the Qatar GP for this episode. So yeah, we're about to get into it, but let's look at some messages first. We actually have some retiring people. I'm pretty sure Bottas is retiring. He's disappeared off the driver contracts. But let's see if anybody has made any progress in the R&D department. Nobody has. I'm pretty sure everybody is at the maximum that they can possibly go now. So yeah, maybe we should probably stop checking that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the intro, and now I'm going to get into the practice session, test the tyres, try and get the setup right. Usually we have too much downforce, so we're actually able to keep up with everybody in qualifying in the corners, but of course in the race what really matters is that main straight, and we are a sitting duck. In both Season 1 and Season 2 we have been a bit of a sitting duck on that straight, so yeah, I am determined to get the setup right for our final go of it in F1 23. Let's go.
We've got a bit of a situation at the moment. Seems like something's off with the fuel injection system. We're looking into it, but we're going to be out of action for a few minutes.
Well, that's obviously not the greatest start to our campaign here in Qatar, so we're not going to have much time to do a couple of runs here. Who knows though, we still have about 8 minutes, so here we go, underway for our first lap of Qatar, and I have completely gone with a different concept entirely for the setup for this season. Obviously, as we saw earlier, my record at Qatar hasn't been the greatest, and obviously if you've seen, you know, throughout this series, we've definitely struggled. We've always been a sitting duck on the straights. It's the main reason that and the ERS always runs out, that we don't do Qatar, or we didn't do Qatar for a few seasons. Even though it is one of my favourite tracks to do, it just wasn't in the career mode for some reason. But yeah, what we've done here is we've put the rear wing a lot lower, like 20 clicks down, something like that. So we're going to be a lot quicker on the straights now. We've also put the front wings lower as well, which means, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot more difficult to turn, but I believe we'll gain so much time on the straights compared that we won't need to worry too much about it at all. But unfortunately the ERS still runs out pretty late into the lap though, so it won't affect us too much, but we are really not far off of George Russell. Pretty much the same lap, just minor differences, and unfortunately we are unable to get a second lap in as we took underbody damage at some point during that lap. So yeah, that was it for our qualifying, and honestly no one really improved. So yeah, Alpine once again take the top of the standings here with Pierre Gasly. Yeah, they seem to be really quick on the low downforce circuits this season. Of course, I think Alpine had like a 1-2 or a 1-3 at Monza. So like, yeah, definitely looking very strong on this track. But yeah, I'm not going to worry too much. George Russell, for the first time in quite some time, out-qualifies us. Maybe, and I hope that is a sign of things to come for our teammate. Of course, he has not had the greatest second half of the season. He's had a pretty poor start to the second half of the season, quite reminiscent of Sergio Perez in the real life 23 season. But yeah, here we go, about to get the sprint race underway, and it's lights out and away we go. And it's not the best start for our teammate, and it's not the best start for Charles Leclerc neither, and it's not the greatest start for the Mercedes of Lando Norris neither, as we look to tuck in behind the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc once again coming around the outside. Russell has fallen back quite a bit. So yeah, awful start for our teammate. Just what is going on with George Russell this season, I have no idea. But look at this, Sergio Perez trying to find a way around the outside as Lando Norris is still here. We actually overtook Perez, and we're overtaking Lando Norris as well. So a pretty good start for us, and we're keeping up with these guys well. Although I do think a lot of these guys also have their downforce lower. So yeah, somehow even lower than me. I had my limits, but we're having a look down the inside here of Oscar Piastri. Almost hit the curbs on the outside of the track, which wouldn't have been good. I get the most underbody damage around this circuit. I'm quite prone to it, unfortunately. And wow, Lando Norris, I don't know why he had to back out there. I think we got caught on the curb just a little bit, and caught Lando out just a little bit there. But look at that, there's a gap beginning to form in front of us, there's a gap beginning to form behind us, but this will be indicative of our pace on the main straight. And look at this, we're actually pulling away from Lando Norris. So yeah, definitely improved on the straights, and it takes us up to lap 4 to finally catch up to Oscar Piastri. That is a huge dive bomb, and Piastri fighting back here. It's now side by side as we take the inside and we complete the move. That move came out of nowhere, and we had pretty much been warming up for that for a few laps. But Piastri, he's still there, he's looking to move down the inside, but no, we give him no space for that move right there. But we're beginning to struggle on these soft tyres. I noticed during the practice sessions that the softs weren't the greatest, but look at this now, we move on to the final lap, and now Lando Norris going down the inside right here, and he's obviously going to get some DRS as well, so we're going to struggle to keep up with him. But this is how powerful the Season 5 cars are. He's not going that far ahead of us, you know. We reach top speed so quick here. We see it at Baku, and now, of course, we see it in Qatar. Perhaps that might help. I don't know. I don't know how strong the slipstream is truly going to be against us. But it seems pretty good for us if that move on Piastri is anything to go by. And speaking of Piastri, he has come out of nowhere, and we're beginning to lose some positions. Almost as far as losing P6 to Perez. But look at this. Oh my god. And I'm thankful that Lando Norris took some evasive action there. I think I was just so focused on getting past Piastri and defending from Perez that I didn't really notice where Lando Norris was. So that is an accidental overtake there on Lando here in the Qatar sprint. 6 seconds is the gap to the top 3. So yeah, we've definitely struggled quite a bit in this sprint here. We're defending for our lives here currently. So yeah, we're not having the greatest time off it, especially since we are the front of the DRS train, and you don't want to be that in Qatar. You know, if there's tracks you don't want to be at the front of the DRS train, it's Qatar, it's Baku, it's Las Vegas. And of course, here we go now onto the final straight, but Lando Norris is right behind us. He might be looking for an overtake across the line for a photo finish. Who's gonna get there? It is Lando Norris. Lando Norris steals P4 away from us right at the death of the sprint race. But you know what? All things considered, 9th to 5th isn't the worst thing in the world, but we're definitely going to have to stay vigilant for any guys overtaking us, like Lando just did right there. It's been a while since we got overtook like that. And I think it might have been Qatar as well. You know, Qatar, I love the track in this game, but one of the best things that F124 is adding is that the finish line is a lot earlier on the track than it is in this game. Pretty sure like this track is the 2021 version, and we're getting the 2023 version for F124. It's unfortunate, but yeah, Qatar looks amazing in F124, so I can't wait to do it. But Max Verstappen will be lining up on pole, followed by Sainz, Gasly, Norris, us, and our teammate all the way down in P11. Wow, Really not good from George Russell there. But anyway, let's get into the race.
Welcome to Qatar, and hello from the desert rain. Well, there's not been much rainfall, but it's concentrated right here and just in time for the Qatar Grand Prix. We're back here in Lusail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique three-pronged shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Gasly, Norris, the owner driver, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Ocon, Bottas, Leclerc, Russell, Tsunoda, Teo Pourchaire, Stroll, Liam Lawson, Drugovich, Joe, Magnussen, Albon, Deruvala, Sargent, and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
Well, here we are, lining up at the grid, 5th place. Pretty successful sprint from us, all things considered. And from what I found in the practice sessions, we do actually have an awful lot of tyre wear. So the softs are not viable if the practice session was anything to go by. Hell, if the sprint was anything to go by. We had a lot of tyre wear just from 7 laps. So mediums to hards looks to be the strategy for tonight's sprint.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Well, surprisingly, most of the grid will be starting on soft tyres here in the Qatar GP, which, considering the tyre wear in the sprint race, might be a woeful decision from the rest of the grid here. Or maybe they know something that we don't. I don't know, but we're in a good position here, especially if the soft tyres do work, as I feel like they will, because, yeah, our mediums will become the better tyre quite fast. There are a couple of people on the grid starting on the hard tyres, including Pierre Gasly in front of us. But here we go, lights out, and away we go. It's not a good start from Sainz. It's a pretty mid-start from Verstappen. It's a good start from Lando Norris as Pierre Gasly looks to challenge Max Verstappen around the outside here. And Verstappen defends it well as we're managing to overtake both Perez and Norris. Perez just not doing good in defending at all around the circuit. And our little dive bomb there, little aggressive overtake there on Pierre Gasly, has allowed Max Verstappen a little bit of breathing room out in front, which is not something we want to do. So we definitely want to reduce that gap as fast as possible. But yeah, 5th place to P2 within a few corners. A beautiful start from us. I'm pretty glad we started on the left side because Lando Norris definitely got sandwiched in on that right hand side. So yeah, you know what, all things considered, maybe it was a good thing that Lando Norris overtook us for P4 in the sprint. But yeah, we're struggling to actually keep up with Verstappen here. We're going to take a little bit of pain for these first couple of laps as those soft tyres will be extremely viable. But it's really cool this season, and particularly in the last few races, that we've seen a lot of tyre wear to the point that I didn't feel confident going onto the softs. I do really like that. There's certain tracks where I think it was Monza or was it Zandvoort that the hard tyres felt pretty much the same as the mediums, and therefore I just didn't see the point. But 5 laps in, we still haven't caught up to Verstappen, and the engineers are recommended that I stay out till lap 11 and move on to the soft tyres. And quite honestly, I mean, look, Lando's keeping up with us, might actually overtake us at some point. We're struggling to keep up with Verstappen. We've reduced the gap a little bit, but maybe our engineers might be onto something, as Lando Norris on lap 6, going on to lap 7, looks to prepare an overtake. I'm going to use a little bit of ERS, but give up pretty quickly, as it's quite evident that Lando is 100% going to overtake me. So, oh my god, he braked a bit earlier than I thought he would there. We might have a little bit of damage. 30% tyre wear in 7 laps on the mediums. That is absolutely insane. Qatar eats through the tyres, but no damage thus far. But yeah, maybe my engineers are onto something, and maybe track temps are just a lot more different than they were in the sprint. I don't know, like these tyres, 40% tyre wear, but they actually feel quite fine. I just don't seem to have the pace, which is so strange, because these guys quite simply should be on the worst tyres at this point, but they're just not. And you know what? I'm going to actually listen to my engineers. My pit lap is actually this lap, but we're actually going to change it now. We're going to stay out until lap 11, or at least the end of lap 10, and we're actually going to switch to the soft tyres. We're going to take our engineers' advice here and go with this awesome strategy that I hope is an awesome strategy anyway. But yeah, I decided to stick with Max Verstappen, as Lando Norris had already pit, so I definitely didn't want to stay out for another lap. But here we go. That's a lot of tyre wear on the mediums. I don't know what it is about the softs, but apparently they are quite viable on race day, which is so strange. But here we go, into the pits. George Russell will be pitting the same lap, that's why I'm looking behind me. And unfortunately, we do stop him a little bit. That is a shame. I think that's the second race in a row that we've double stacked. And I just really want them to update MyTeam for our teammate strategies. It's just such a shame that we still don't have that update. But Lando Norris undercuts us here. Not by much, though. He's now on the mediums, and we're on the soft tyres, so we're going to be a lot quicker here for these first couple of laps. And basically now, we're going to want to take as much advantage of these softs as possible, because towards the end of the race, obviously, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. So the best thing we can do is try to overtake Norris as quick as possible. We've already gained quite a bit of time on Verstappen, and we were actually behind Verstappen. I actually didn't notice it. I was so focused on George Russell that I didn't notice that Max Verstappen's pit crew, Red Bull, with a very, very rare error. Perhaps they had a bit of trouble fitting a wheel on, I don't know, but Verstappen has definitely lost about a second from that pit stop, so that's really strange. But look at that now, purple second sector. We're definitely the quickest car on track as of right now. Might be the only car on the softs, as we now come round, swing round the final corner, and we've actually already gained 3/10 on Lando Norris as we now go down the main straight. This might be one of our first proper overtakes down the main straight in the entire series around Qatar. I don't know. But there you go. The move is done. And now we just focus on trying to get as far ahead as possible. Use these soft tyres as much as we can, because we are going to be at a huge disadvantage towards the end of the race. And you know what? So far it's going quite well as we go on to lap 14. We've gained a second and a half on Lando Norris since that overtake. So yeah, lap 15, 5 laps to go. Really not too bad at all, to be quite honest. 5, 6 laps, I don't know. I think it's 6 pretty much if we count lap 15. So yeah, just 6 laps to go, and we are doing quite well, to be honest, on these soft tyres. But it will only be a matter of time before they catch up. And of course, lap 18, look at this now, 48% tyre wear on the softs. These are we're on the ropes now. as we come down the main straight. Lando Norris following pretty closely at some point as his teammate Valtteri Bottas is out of the session. But here we go. Lando has caught up, and now we have to start with the defending. And quite honestly, we're going to be a sitting duck on that main straight. He's going to have a better exit, a better entry and better exit out of the final corner. And yeah, history might repeat itself in the sprint, from the sprint into the main race. I really hope that's not the case. But yeah, lap 19 now. 2 laps to go. And yeah, we've just got to defend for our lives right now. I'm not too worried about this particular lap, as Lando will overtake us most likely. But if he doesn't, we're going to be in huge trouble, I should think, because it's going to play out exactly like Las Vegas, where you just don't want to be ahead on that final lap because everybody will just overtake you. So with the Red Bulls not too far behind, we could lose a lot more than just P1, you know, as we now come towards the final corner of lap 19. And you know what, we're gonna make this all cinematic. We're trying to get out of the way of Lando Norris's slipstream, but look at this, look at the speed of that Mercedes with the help of the DRS. He has overtaken us. It's P1 for Lando Norris, but we're going to dive down the outside. That is a beautiful overtaking. It looks so much better on the replays, and we actually catch Lando off guard, so much so that Verstappen was actually challenging momentarily for P2 right there. But we are now in the view of Lando Norris. He's looking to dive down the inside. A little bit of contact's made as we squeeze him out as much as we possibly can within the law of F1. But look at that, a little bit of a lock-up there from Lando. He is already struggling on those mediums. You know for a fact that we are struggling on the softs, but it's looking really good so far. Look at how far Pierre Gasly has fallen. P11 for him. Our teammate George Russell's in P6, so honestly not the worst for him right there. But yeah, look at this. The 2 Red Bulls, they must be licking their lips right now. If any big problem happens between me and Lando, Red Bull could swoop in to take the 1-2. Or at least a full Red Bull podium. Who knows? But here we go. Look at this. Lando trying to challenge around the outside. There's Liam Lawson not too far ahead, one of the back markers. But look at this now. Back onto the view of Lando Norris down the main straight on the final lap. Look at how quick he's going with the slipstream and DRS. He can barely keep control of it. And we are just about crossing the line to take our very first win around Qatar. History from the sprint race did not repeat itself, and we were able to stay out in front to capture our first win at Qatar.
From the team here in Qatar, and a fully deserved victory too. Tell me, Ant, how do they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
Well, that win will certainly mean just as much as the Jeddah win, quite simply because, you know, it was one of the tracks that we really struggled on throughout this series. Not because of skill, mind you. Jeddah was a skill issue, but a strategy issue here in Qatar. And it looks as though we're making some big gains for our basically an ultimate season. And it's a shame that we were never able to get that Baku win. But we've got our Qatar win, and we worked damn hard for that. And it won't be nearly as difficult to do that in F1 24 because, of course, like I said, the finish line is a lot earlier in the track in that game. So, yeah, looking forward to that. But, yeah, what a race. George Russell was able to come home in P6. So he brings in 8 points for the team. But man, he really should be placing higher. Like, we're struggling to take these wins, you know, and it would be really nice if, you know, if we were struggling so much that we could probably let George pass and, you know, defend a P2 and, you know, get a 1-2 for the team, but George just never seems to get in those positions, and it really is such a shame. But yeah, P6 ain't too bad for him, but we know the car's capable of better. But at least we get the Evolo you know, sponsor money this time, because he's really been letting us down for that. But yeah, guys, that is the end of this episode of F123 My Team Career Mode. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. Until next time, peace.